Hey Technostuds! In one of my prior videos, we talked about how our networks are going to be pretty much a /64. But often your internet service provider is going to give you a /48 number that you have to work with. That means you have an extra 16 bits for the subnet portion of this. That means that gives you 65,536 different networks to work with. And it's actually, when it comes to subnetting, it's much simpler than IP version 4. So let's take a look at the differences with IP version 4 and IP version 6 subnetting. So with this, we're just going to learn the basic IP version 6 subnetting. There's a more advanced way that we could do this, but let's just take a look first of all at just a very simple way of subnetting. So if we have a whole hextet to work with, we have 65,536 different networks that we can work with. And we don't need to borrow any of that for the host portion. The host portion is taken care of. That's another 64 bits. So we got a crazy amount of host addresses for each one of those networks. So we've got a huge range to work with, which really allows us to do a lot of manipulation and things to that address to make it make a lot of sense. Let's go over a simple example of subnetting. So here we have the first portion of this, the first network part of it. This first part right here, like I say, is probably assigned by your internet service provider or given to you. So this is really the portion that we have to work with that we can figure out. This hextet, this fourth hextet that we have right here. All right, so how do we want to assign this out? Well, as we see here, we have 454 sites for this with 5,800 nodes per site. So there's 5,800 endpoints per each one of these sites. Well, first of all, this is really not important information at all. We can just ignore this part of it. And the reason why we can ignore that part of it is because we've got 64 bits for the hosts. So that, I mean, we well cover 5,800 nodes is nothing compared to the millions upon millions upon billions of these possible hosts that we can have for these networks. So we really only need to worry about this 454. And because this is pretty straightforward, we just need 454 sites. We just start naming them off. The first one's going to be all zeros here. So 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So if we condense this down, this would just be a 0. So colon, 0, colon. Right? The next one would be colon, 1, colon. The next one, colon, 2, colon. I mean, it's hexadecimal. It's counting in hexadecimal. So it's going to go all the way up to F. And then once it hits F, then it's going to go over to 1, 0. Just like we did the hexadecimal counting. So really, subnetting with this is pretty straightforward. I mean, you have this huge range to work with. You just count up sequentially and you meet the needs of these 454 sites or however many sites there is.